get this done by working together as a team.
Jeez, bub. Keep buzzing in my ear.
Hello everyone, thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose, I love comic books, I love talking about them, I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that I have plot synopsis and character bios for these issues. The Uncanny XMen 191 from 1984, written by Claremont and drawn by John Romita Jr. with Dan Green. Rest in peace, Dan Green. And here we have John Romita Jr. And DG. So, this is the X-Men classic tale. Tom Rainey is the cover. So, Raiders of the Lost Temple. We're kind of going to pick up. I have a playlist. Feel free to check it out. I have an X-Men playlist, an X-Universe playlist, and a Mutants playlist. I got playlists for everything. So, check those out if you would like. So, Kulan Gath has taken over New York City and imprisoned a bunch of people. You can see some of the New Mutants here, some of the Morlocks here, some of the Avengers. You can see the Vision and the Scarlet Witch here. A Stanley presentation starring the Uncanny X-Men and guest starring Spider-Man and the Avengers. And so here we get our credits. Tom Radzikowski is a man, oh man, he's a warrior, he's a trooper with how he has to letter all those words by Claremont here. Glenn Sween is the colorist, and Anna Senti and Jim Shooter doing the editing. So we're going to basically get a recap of the last issue. As I mentioned, I have a playlist. Feel free to check it out. The New Mutants are involved. The Morlocks are involved. This Kulan Gath has basically combined Xavier and Caliban, and everybody is like living in a fantasy world. I believe he was a Conan villain, and now he's in the Marvel Universe proper. So, all right, and you can see Spider-Man has been captured, and for some reason, Kulan Gath hates Spider-Man, and I didn't care enough to research why he hates Spider-Man so much. Of course, Spider-Man is not affected by everything that's happened. He's the only person that still retains his memories, that still speaks English. Everybody else is speaks and like of that era. So Spider-Man just he's in a lot of pain. Does a little bravado. Kulan Gath is actually impressed by him, and he says, soon I will have enough power to make the whole world just like this. And Spider-Man says, hey, what provides the power? And he says, why, blood, of course, the hot, fresh life essence of innocence. So he's actually taking blood from everybody. And then he says, and heroes. So you can see this thing. So he's about to cut Spider-Man as well. So he comes here. He Selene, and you can see Doctor Strange is also here. Selene, the Black, or the future Black Queen. I don't think she's the Black Queen yet. She's brought in. You can see his guards have been holding her. It's a little kind of unclear here. It almost looks like statues, but there's Selene right there, and she drops here. Had I my magics, dog? And he's like, but you do not. My spells have rendered you, and the enchanter Stephen Strange quite helpless. And then he's like, tisk tisk, have my guards used thee unkindly? Wench, for shame. Thou were my greatest foe that deserves a great gentler treatment. There, so much better. And he gets rid of her mouth. Wenches are better seen, but not heard. For all thy knowledge of the arts arcane, thou now hast neither mouth to cry enchantments, nor hands to draw thy sacred sigils. So he's very despicable, even though she is actually quite despicable herself. Claremont does this almost to make her seem more sympathetic. Now, one of the other things that is really a staple of 60s, 70s, um, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s comics, all these lines that are used, these ticks. And McFarlane and Jim Lee kind of went even further into these, but you see them a lot just to kind of create depth or shading, even though you're like, well, I don't understand, but it was just a hallmark of the time. So, all right. So, and so this is Danny Moonstar, Mirage from the New Mutants, and he's like they've been enslaved by him, and he's like, where are the other rebels? And he says, we do not know, Lord, they escaped us. And he goes, a pity, and turns them into stone here. I have a low tolerance for failure, my pets. Better by far for thou to perish in battle than return in defeat and disgrace to face my wrath. I shall not be so gentle or forgiving a second time. So, Xavier, come forth. Where are my enemies? And so, like I said, him and Caliban are combined. And I, Caliban, hear, mighty one, but your foes remain hidden from the sight of my mind's eyes. And so Sunder and Magic have returned to human, and they're like, there is but one place, my lord, where your servants scrying power cannot see, the Morlock catacombs. That must be where the rebels have fled. So he tells them, I want them in chains before dawns, or, dear children, their fate shall more so surely be thine. So he says, if you don't get them, what I'm going to do to them, I'm going to then instead do to you. So, all right. And then this year would have been the New York Public Library. And they're like, oh, nothing is in there. So I'm narrating a little bit because as I mentioned in the previous issue, I don't really care too much for this particular story. But for the sake of completion, I am doing it because I am going through all of Chris Claremont's Uncanny X-Men in reading order. I'm also, like I mentioned, I'm doing the New Mutants in reading order. So check that out. Eventually, I will get to X Factor, and I know Chris Claremont doesn't do X Factor. I mean, he does do like 4 issues of it toward the end. But we're actually gonna do the X Factor as well. Lots of stuff here. Check out the X Universe playlist so you can see everything all done in reading order. So, all right. So here come the Avengers and the X-Men here. And you can see as they're kind of looking, here comes an arrow, but Captain America is able to stop it. Nightcrawler teleports to see what's going on, and some lady named Erilyn, and she's like, we mean you no harm. And he's like, well, look at this massacre. And Storm's like, that wasn't our doing. She's like, liar, how can you say that when amongst you stands Callisto, commander of the Wizard's own guard? So, well, Callisto, once she got back, she realized she got all her memories back. So that's why here. So, all right, and so now we have the people turned heel by Kulangath here, and so we're just kind of gonna move this, as I mentioned before. We're just gonna kind of move this along here. So, and then this would be Rogue and Cannonball. Cannonball, of course, is a heel at this moment here. So, and somebody stabs poor Rogue from behind. That actually is. And Storm is like, Rogue! And she is quite angry. I still don't know how Storm got back here. It really wasn't explained. She went off on a ship to go back to Africa, and then suddenly she was here. So, all right. And then here is Warlock, and then he helps her. He saves her here, but Wolfsbane is still hanging on to her here. Wolfsbane also has a heel turn. And of course she's like, "What are you?" And then she tells him it's Warlock, but she cannot remember because when you go back in, you retain like your goodness, your essence is returned, but you lose like all your memories and all that kind of stuff. So, all right. So, after they save her, they're like, "See, we were good," and Amara's not helping because she's actually enslaved by the Black Queen. So we got a bunch of stuff going on here, and she's like, "Oh, I was scared," but of course she doesn't. Magic doesn't believe her, and Thor suspects something to do with the Black Queen here. So, he asks, "What are your nearest entrance to the catacomb?" He says, "Next street over." So, all right. So Danny's all upset because Rain appears to be dead with Cannonball, and Cool Goth is like doing mysterious things to them. Feel free to check out that website. As I mentioned, I'm just kind of narrating here. I'm just trying to power through to the end of the issue, and then we're gonna get back to normal after this here. Magic or Mirage wants them. Revenge on them. And he's like, "No, I need them. You can have them after, but I'm already restoring those other two," and then turning these two here into other creatures. And Kulangath is like, "You have done well, my pets, but I will not be content till all of Celine's rebels are before me in chain or in their graves." So, all right, and so Warlock is trying to communicate with Storm and trying to kind of go through. He kind of remembers, and so he's trying to wake him up to the illusion or the whatever it is here. So, and so here we have the Morlocks, and so again talking about some stuff that really doesn't matter because this is just two issues, and at the end of this issue everything goes back to normal, so it really matters not. And of course here is Magma and Phoenix. A little bit of a coloring mistake here. They overcolored a little bit, who are of course enslaved by Celine here. And so here are Eris and that whoever that was. And so you can see here that the heroes are going through the tunnel, but Sunder is still under. All these are under control of Cool Goth. So off they go to another fight, which is sort of cool to see Chris Claremont doing fights. Normally, Chris Claremont will have a whole comic book. Everyone just talking here, but here that lady is covering Rain up so that they can try to get away, but Rain's upset, but Magic, and now everybody's sort of fighting. Morlock against Morlock, New Mutant against New Mutants. And she ends up killing poor Sunder. And so back here's Spider-Man, who appears to be crucified here. And so the heroes come through. And again, everybody's sort of fighting. And finally, we're about to get here. But Kulangath isn't done here quite. He means to take over everything here, and he is just. But the heroes are coming, and you can see here the Scarlet Witch is trying to get everyone, but Spider-Man's like, no more, no more, and he is going to get out of this. And he's like, the amulet. His power resides in the amulet around his neck. Get it off him, and he's beaten. He's speaking, of course, in English, but they don't understand. And Kulangath is a supreme effort, boy, supremely wasted. Hast thou forgotten? None but you can comprehend thy barbaric tongue. I'm amused by thee no longer, man spider. The time has come to die. And boom, out falls Spider-Man here. But of course, we're continuing here as Warlock is still trying to teach Storm everything that's happened, and so she does remember, and so Warlock is gonna kind of give her so that she can fly here, and down he goes, and she can see she grabs the necklace, but then someone was snatching it, and of course it is Amara, who is going to give it to Selene. So now Selene, of course, as I mentioned, is just as evil. So they're going to combine here with Warlock, and Warlock goes through and grabs Selene, frees everybody, kind of just getting everything. I mean, these things were compacted. I mean, this story by itself was probably be like a 3-parter in today's, and Doctor Strange is helping Magic restore the world, and now everybody's in the Sancta Sanctorum, back as if nothing would have ever happened. And Captain America's like, hey, did you do this? And he's like, nope. So anyway, everything's now basically back to normal. So Captain America or Storm does say something. As usual, the X-Men help save humanity, but nobody knows about it. For all our heroics, we mutants are still outcast. Nothing has changed. Captain America says, not quite, Storm. I know, and for what it's worth, I thank you. So, all right. So, now we're going back here to the past, and if you remember, this guy was going to kill him, which of course frees oh my god, starts this whole thing that happened, but suddenly Nimrod appears and kills this guy. So now the 2 issues that we spent on don't actually happen. So that's kind of why I was like, not my favorite cup of tea, but I didn't really want to ruin it per se. But these 2 issues don't happen because Nimrod has come from the past and killed this guy before he would steal that amulet. And so the amulet finds here and is just going under the thing, so it never happens. And so he helps Nimrod up, and he's like, hey, what's up? Somebody hit me. Don't worry, he won't do it again. Observation: anti-mutant sentiment is prevalent in this society. Conclusion: if mutant exists, then true to my programming, Nimrod must seek them out and obliterate them. So this is Nimrod's first appearance. So that's kind of why I was hurrying through the issue, kind of like, because it really doesn't matter. So here we go. So next issue, fun and games. Uncanny X-Men 191. Chris Claremont, John Romita Jr. with Dan Green. I'm not even gonna say hope you liked it, because I mean, I don't like it. Maybe you do. Maybe these are your favorites. Hey, enjoy them. So yeah, that's about it. So like and subscribe, and I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.